Hi everyone, I'm John Rennie and welcome to the Boneyard. For this review, I want to look at a movie that I've never really been able to forget ever since I had my first reactions to it, as it was an experience that gave me more questions than answers.
What is that?
It's a f***ing bug.
Oh my God, Peter!
And I've always appreciated that kind of movie when it's done well.
That's not it. I don't want you to get hurt.
I'll take my chances.
This episode, I want to look at a psychological horror thriller from the director of The Exorcist. This is William Friedkin's Bug.
Oh, you mean the bugs? They got the bugs!
A living, breathing organism.
Oh my God!
Bug is a dark and unsettling exploration of paranoia, and I think delusion. It is a very intense and claustrophobic movie that deals with mental health. The movie is almost entirely filmed in one desolate roadside motel location, so we have the time to really get to know the heads of the main characters as we look at the lives of two damaged people who begin a relationship that quickly spirals into madness, body horror, and violence. Bug is based on a play by Tracy Letts that was very well received for its raw portrayal of paranoia, love, and loss.
Folie à deux, I may be mispronouncing it, but it's a psychological term that means the madness of two. It's when one person literally catches another person's psychosis, which also seemed to me kind of like love.
The story goes that director Friedkin, a filmmaker known for choosing material that is challenging and of personal interest to him, called up Letts after seeing the show a couple of times and bought the rights to the material for $5,000 for 1 year so that he could try and develop the movie.
But I found that I didn't know where this was going. I had no idea what the next scene would be, what the next movement would be, and that always grabs me, no matter what.
Tracy Letts himself adapted the screenplay, and I think that really helps to ensure that the film retains the dark and often witty dialogue.
Where'd you learn to talk like that anyway?
School.
That Friedkin himself said made him think of the film not only as a psychological horror thriller, but also as a pitch-black comedy.
Some pretty wild shit.
It is a very violent and uncomfortable film, with its portrayal of psychological paranoia being passed from one person to another, almost like a disease. The tagline for the movie was "Paranoia is contagious." So that comedy was a little bit lost on me at first, as I was compelled by the horror aspects of the film. But after a few viewings, I can now see the dark comedy is definitely there between the lines.
God damn, Peter. I think if I were a roach, I'd probably take the hint.
As it is in a lot of writer Tracy Letts' work, such as his later Friedkin collaboration, Killer Joe, which has a brave and refreshing role, filled with a dark comedic presence from actor Matthew McConaughey.
This is serious business you're f***ing with here, boy.
Bug stars Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon in the lead roles of Agnes and Peter, and Judd's portrayal of a lonely waitress with a traumatic past, and Shannon's intense performance as a war veteran who may or may not be part of a governmental experiment kept me guessing and on the edge of my seat most of the way through the movie. The tense nature of the work can be felt immediately from the opening scenes of the movie, and it grips you straight away.
I got a gun.
Michael Shannon reprised his role from the stage production, and I think that helped to bring a deep understanding of the character's complexities, which works perfect on screen. His performance as a man on the edge who believes that the world is literally eating him alive from the inside out is close to incredible.
On what?
My blood. He's feeding off my blood.
Shannon is a unique and versatile actor.
Maybe we got us a little bug problem here.
They're eating me!
I know.
One of the things that I found really compelling about Bug is that it also contains a healthy dose of conspiracy theory-based material, which for some reason has always been of interest to me since I was a kid.
From its earliest days, the internet was a breeding ground for conspiracy theory. And I spent a lot of dark nights traveling down those rabbit holes on the internet about conspiracy theory.
And that made for a wide range of emotions for these characters to explore in the pitch-black depths of their psyches.
It's a computer chip that has been implanted in the skin of every human being born on the planet.
Ashley Judd is incredible in the lead in a way that I've never ever seen her before, and Shannon complements her performance perfectly.
I don't have a lot of friends, but the ones I have, I'm real good too.
Judd seemed an unusual choice at first, as she was known primarily for her mainstream thriller roles rather than smaller budget ensemble pieces, but for me, I think this is her greatest role, and she nails the loneliness and sadness of Agnes that made me feel sympathetic for the character, but also able to relate to her on an emotional level. The mental health problems that she exhibits early on in the film, I felt grounded the character before the real body horror begins. And that made the drama all the more tense and engaging to watch and be part of. The movie also includes a dark, brooding and unexpected performance from acclaimed musician Harry Connick Jr. In his role, he oozes pain and loss, but he also brings a creepiness to the film because he's kind of the ex-boyfriend bully.
I ain't going back over nothing. I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe you ain't too happy to see me, girl.
He isn't on screen a lot, but his presence is always felt, as we never know when his violence may return. He was an interesting casting choice again, but his work in this movie is as fantastic as it is menacing, and I thought this was a standout performance for Harry Connick Jr.
You ain't gonna get no trouble from me. I'm staying here for a while.
Barry, I don't think you want to stay here.
Oh yeah, why is that?
The place is crawling with these things.
Cinematically speaking, I think Friedkin creates a beautiful landscape that seemed to get smaller and smaller as the characters begin to cut deeper and deeper inside of themselves, searching for some kind of relief from this madness, this paranoia.
They wouldn't help me. They wouldn't help me.
The camera work from DOP Michael Grady and camera operator Michael Applebaum is drenched in fear, and the film seems to drain in color as the movie claws its way forward, and we get some startling, and I would say stunning, visual images. This is no sophomore effort. There are some breathtaking cinematic compositions from a master of cinema here. As the paranoia increases and the black helicopters start circling overhead, the world seems to come crashing down on the drama that is unfolding in this tin foil shrouded world that will soon be stained in blood.
Bug problem?
Bug was released by Lionsgate, and at the time they were riding high from the incredible popularity of the Saw franchise, and Bug was marketed much in the same way that the Saw films were. And because Friedkin is the director of one of the most renowned horror movies of all time in The Exorcist, Bug was marketed as more of a horror movie than perhaps it actually is. I say this just so if you do decide to give it a watch, and I really hope you do, expect the violence, emotional intensity, and scenes of body horror that come with it, but these scenes are only part of the horror, and the psychological and dramatic aspects of Bug play a much larger role than they would in a film similar to the Saw franchise. So be prepared for the blood, but also know that I think Bug is a movie that needs to be watched carefully, or you will miss the beauty in the details and the nuances of the fantastic performances.
I guess I'd rather talk with you about bugs than nothing with nobody.
It's safe to say that the Boneyard definitely recommends this movie. Bug is a compelling work that is disturbing and claustrophobic by design, and is made to make us feel uncomfortable and affect an audience on a visceral and emotional level. For some critics, who were expecting a more straightforward horror movie at the time, these psychological elements were a bit of a turn-off. I think these elements are what factor in why it is such a haunting watch and lingers with you after the credits roll.
I think it's unexpected. You have to pay attention, but I think it is a comedy, very sexy, and it's savagely violent. You can't just lay back and expect the movie to just come at you. You have to get involved in it.
Watching Bug, I felt like I was stuck in a pressure cooker with these characters, and for me, in terms of a cinematic experience, I don't think you can really ask for anything else. This film will be highly enjoyable to horror fans, but also has the added extra of William Friedkin's filmmaking style that is unique and keeps the audience off-center, and that makes it a disturbing watch. And I am always looking for movies that do something original with psychological horror, and Bug, from the expert director William Friedkin, working here, I think on top form, certainly delivers as a great psychological horror.
What? What?
Really?
Thanks for watching. If you would like to hear more from me, please remember to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on Friedkin's Bug in the comments below. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.